what role does perfectionism play in your life? Do you have areas where you are more of a perfectionist than in others? Actually, most people do. And perfectionism is a very interesting topic because it's used positively as well as negatively in the everyday language. If I remember, I always heard very successful people being described as perfectionistic, either it being positive or even as an insult, right? But when you look at the research in psychology, you find that perfectionism is linked to very bad illnesses like depression, anorexia, and even suicide. So it isn't as straightforward as you would think, because usually we think that these are the highest performers at work, but it's often not the case, which they found in a study, because they say that it correlates with other habits or character traits that perfectionists have, which are usually about too high standards, about inflexibility about working with others, inflexibility about delegating because you think only if you do it, it's good enough, right? And like the conclusion of this all was that perfectionism is not as much a behavior, but what it is as like how you treat yourself and how you have crazy standards that actually are not attainable. And you're really harsh on yourself as a result of it. So the question is, how do we deal with the perfectionism that we find in our lives? Hopefully it is not as harsh as I was describing from some of the research in your life, but it can still be something that's weighing heavy on your shoulders and actually limits you from going out and doing what you like to do in the world. Myself, I had, like reflecting back to my youth, I found that I was being perfectionistic about my crafting. So I love to sew, I love to build things with my hand, but at some point in my teens I realized I didn't wear what I was producing. I didn't feel confident enough to wear the bag or the skirt that I created. And at that stage I was like, if I cannot produce something that I want to wear, it's a waste of time, it's a waste of resources, I won't do it anymore. And then only when I got older and realized, hey, I used to love doing this, I used to love spending time crafting, that I actually realized what I've done, because basically I stole or I blocked myself from all these years that I didn't craft, from actually getting better at it and finding my style and finding my sense of beauty in the creations I could do. So my perfectionism about what I produced actually led me away from doing what I liked. And only when I got older I gained the trust in myself to just do it because I liked it, and trusting that I will get better and at some point actually like what I create, you know. So this was one of the anecdotes that I wanted to share with you, and I have actually another one where I tried to trick myself over my own perfectionism that was blocking me. I wanted to create a morning ritual, a morning habit for myself. So I wanted to stand up, do some short meditation and some movements of Qigong, and start my day with this. And I realized that I didn't have the confidence that I could actually start doing it, because I love to sleep and I was a bit grumpy in the morning. So I was like, I didn't really believe in myself that I could do it, and it felt like if I couldn't do it constantly, I was a failure, so I didn't do it. And only when I realized that this is such a blocking and stupid belief, because every time I do it, it's a win, right? So even if I start at the first beginning, I don't do it every day, but every day I do it, it's a win. because I already don't do it. So the only change I can do is to a positive, right? And by actually starting to noting down my wins of doing my morning ritual, I started to get into the habit of it and actually creating the positive feeling that it, like realizing that it created a positive feeling which enforced my habit. And by now I'm doing it every day, and it's not a question anymore. But I realized that this limiting belief of thinking that I couldn't do it every day actually blocked me from starting, which is super ridiculous, but is something I observed with myself. So these are two stories from my side of perfectionism and how I beat them, basically. And I think it's for me, it was a big breakthrough to take a step back and actually look at those stories to see what went on in my psyche, right? So I would love to hear your stories where you beat your own perfectionism or want to beat them. And tell me in what areas of your life you actually have more of the perfectionism than in others. I think it's a very interesting topic that's usually not discussed enough and sometimes really creates trouble in our lives. So have a wonderful day and see you in the next email. Bye bye.